G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. Now first off, just quickly, sorry for not getting much content out throughout the weekend. I was away up the coast spending a bit of time with some family, so yeah, couldn't get a round review out the other day, but I'm back now, and yeah, home honestly just a few hours ago, so I'm straight into recording this and getting the graphics all ready to do my tips for round 17 of the 2023 AFL season. So if you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'll be much appreciated, and let's kick it off with my tips from last week. So overall, my tips from round 16, the first week post-buys, and it was pretty good, 7 out of 9, I'll definitely take that. Don't know if it was an easy or hard sort of round. I was in the bottom 54%, so probably not. I think there's a lot of obvious tips. Tipped the Lions at home, thought they'd be too strong for the Tigers. Surprised with Richmond, they usually are good at the venue, but maybe it's just the post-buy Blues were just shocking, belted in the midfield. Obviously streamed this game up at the coast. My Swannies not getting the job done enough against the Cats. It was a draw, so no matter who you tipped, you do get the tip correct technically, even though the Swans probably should have won. I did tip them, they should have won by 5 or 6 goals given that goal kicking. They did really well to pick apart Geelong's defence with the corridor use, but Geelong seemed to do well after half time to sort of counter that, but honestly I felt this probably was a deserving result given both teams were pretty poor with goal kicking, so yeah, draw it was. Tipped Adelaide at home, pretty easy tip. Tip the Dockers. Now, I'm sort of jinxing the Dockers. I'm sorry if there's any Freo fans watching this as I say, but whenever I tip the Dockers, they seem to lose, and they're hard to get a grasp on. I felt the Bulldogs would win this game. They'd bounce back and show some strong footy, and honestly, this was a bit of an arm wrestle. I didn't really watch much of this game because obviously it's up the coast, but that final term, the Dockers were poor. Just got overrun by the Bulldogs, and then, yeah, so it took tip wrong there. The Doggies getting it done. Tipped the Pies. Didn't watch a second of this game, but all I saw was the score, and oh my goodness, it was like 90-10. Could not believe it. But yeah, apparently the Suns were just really poor in the midfield and defending ball movement. Collingwood moved the ball way too freely, and they're just looking like a team prime for a flag this year. The Pies, easy tip. Tip Port Adelaide. I just backed them in. I had good faith they can win this, and it was perfectly, it aged perfectly well. They got that goal after the siren through Dan Houston. Superb kick it was, and I feel for the Dons because they looked pretty strong in this game. Port probably were the better side throughout most of this game, but they let it slip in the fourth term. You know, it was end-to-end really, but yeah, it was a crazy finish for Port to make it 12 in a row. Tip the Blues, just felt confident in that they are the better team. You can't trust the Hawks too much, and again, I don't watch this game, but yeah, the Blues just seem to be too good for the Hawkies around the ball, and they're moving the ball with a bit more confidence and a bit more fast-paced these last month or so, I think, the Blues. So, does that help them translate into more wins second half of the year? Who knows? This seemed to be shocker. Watch the second half of this game. Oh my goodness, it was just a scrap fest. The D's dominating the Giants in every statistical department there is, except points. They were just terrible going inside 50. This is what I've always said with Melbourne. They're not a very good side with scoreboard pressure. That's been their weakness, and I feel like most of their games in check, but just that area hurts them, and which just pretty much allowed them for the Giants to really have a gutsy win. That's one of the wins of the year for the Giants. Such a strong performance, I think, and they move the ball now with a bit more gusto, and I think they're a very strong team in the contest now, compared from last year and the turnover game of the Giants. Strong win from them, but got that tip wrong, and then yeah, tip the Saints. Half time it wasn't looking good, but the Saints were good enough in the second half to get the win and avoid a massive scare against the Eagles, who are pretty strong. So 7 out of 9 for round 16. Pretty decent, I'll take it. Let's move on to the round 17 tips now. So the first game kicks us off, ladies and gentlemen, with the Thursday night footy. The Tigers first in the Swans at the MCG. Both teams coming off a poor performance, wanting to bounce back here, and it's a massive game. It's 13th versus 15th, so the Tigers have dropped into the bottom 4, but both these teams are still a chance, I feel, for a final spot, because it's just so even compared from last year. It still is up for grabs, and I don't know if they'll lose for the loser. I think if Richmond loses this game, it's probably season over given their percentage, but for the Swans, the percentage still is good enough for them to be in a position to be in the 8, so it's a bit of a hard one, I think, if this is a true elimination final, but both teams need this win. It's simple as that. They really need to live for this game. At the MCG, I think the Tigers at the MCG against the Swans, historics-wise, have gotten the chockies over them the last couple of times. The Swans have been pretty inconsistent in the MCG, which isn't like them. I think usually at the G they are quite a decent side, the Swans, but they're just these, you know, there's mental scars. Obviously, they got pumped by the D's by 50 points, lost to the Cats, of course, in that grand final last year, so it isn't their happy hunting ground at the moment, the Swannies, but I just think looking at these two teams, it's a bit of a hard one, but I think the last few weeks the Swans have been really strong. They're starting to improve their method. They're starting to improve how they move the ball. They've been really good with pressure, but they just still have those inconsistencies where they get pumped in the contested game, and they like to leak scores as well. And they're having their troubles, I think, having shots at goal. It wasn't just this game against the Cats last week, but they've had this multiple times this year. But as for the Tigers, well, it's hard to get a grasp on them. Before the bye, they looked so strong. They were really strong defensively, great off the turnover, executing well. The vibes were great under 𝐼𝐿, but maybe that was just sort of the reality check. Nothing against him, but maybe the reality check just for 𝐼𝐿. He needed just a bit of a sort of a game falling back to earth. Now this is what it really is, because the Tigers were just pumped by the better team with the Lions around the ball and in the midfield. So both teams' midfields are pretty inconsistent. I know Dusty Martin's coming back, so that should be a big focal point added into their midfield. He's been really key with score involvements and etc. I think Tom McCartan comes back for the Swans, so that bolsters their defence a little bit more. So yeah, it's a bit of a hard one. The Tigers come in the favourites with this game, but yeah, given from last week, I think the Swans probably do look better, the better team here with this tip. I don't think it will be a game where it's won and lost in the midfield. I think both teams have been inconsistent with that, but it's just more about execution. I think the Tigers, when they're on, they can really nail their turnover game and just play great footy against any side of that chaos footy. But yeah, the Swans, I think, with the bigger ground, really need to continue to try and take the game on with their corridor movement, because their defensive transition stuff as of late has been really strong as well, the Swans. But yeah, as for the Tigers, they've been strong defensively too, so I feel like they're sort of playing strength into strength in a way. Tigers are good off the turnover, they can execute against the Swans. So yeah, it's a hard one to tip, but bit of bias as a Swans man, but I just think given that loss against the Cats last week, they can head into the G and knock off the Tigers here. They knocked them off last time these two sides played, so I feel like they've got a bit of a blueprint to knock them off with that ball movement. But yeah, it's an important game for both clubs, but I just think the Swannies get this one done on Thursday night. I think they're playing, as of late the last few weeks, probably a little bit better of the footy. They've played well against some good sides. I think they can head to Melbourne and knock off the Tigers here. Whereas Swans, I'm bullish about them, which I don't want to be. I'm never really too bullish on my Swannies this year, but I just think we can get it done and they'll win by 20 points. Moving on to Friday night's game here, we've got the Bulldogs taking on the Pies at Marvel Stadium. Now, for some reason, just looking at this game instantly, I just have a feeling the Doggies can win this game right off the bat. I just think the last few weeks, their stat differentials have been quite good. They've just been not a great team defensively and struggled with consistency and moving the ball well from ground to ground, from end to end, and especially going inside 50. But does that win against Freo give them confidence now that they can really go bang against a strong team of the Pies when going inside 50? Because look how well 𝐼𝐿𝐿 went in that game. They were really strong. Their pressure in the forward 50 was really good against Freo, the Bulldogs. So I feel like if they can sort of do that to the Pies defence and put on a bit of scoreboard pressure, because I feel like to beat the Pies you need to beat them with scoreboard pressure. And because that's sort of what teams have struggled to do, like against the Crows the past two times. You've really got to put on a bit of pressure and outlast them in the contest and around the ground just with overall pressure. So I think the Bulldogs are a bit of a chance here, but maybe that's a bit too good to be true if you're a Doggies fan. I just think the Pies have been so strong in multiple areas across the ground. They are playing such a balanced style of play. Their ball movement, again, it's so hard to defend against. They were just so strong against the Suns last week. But yeah, I think this could be a bit of a danger game for the Pies, because I just feel the Bulldogs could really take it up to them, especially in the midfield in the contested game, and especially with the star players they've got. I can always hit the scoreboard, and they have X-Factor plays, the Doggies. But yeah, they still have their struggles, I think, defensively, and I think Collingwood can really open holes when transitioning the ball, and that's an area where the Bulldogs are pretty bad at with defensive transitions. Still, with Liam Jones there, it does really hurt the Dogs in defence. So I just think with the Pies, the safe tip, I'll back them in. They're playing overall the better footy. So go Collingwood to win on Friday night. And yeah, maybe a bit of a closer game, but I think the Pies run away with it and they'll win by 22 points. Move on to the Saturday games. First one here, we've got the Lions taking on the West Coast Eagles at the Gabba. I saw that West Coast at one point with $51. Now, they won't win this game. The Lions will be too strong, but I'm keen to see how West Coast go. Do they play sort of how they played last week against the Saints? They were really good at moving the ball. They were strong going inside 50, and they were actually good in the mid for some parts. They were smacking St Kilda in the midfield, but I don't think they'll have that against the Lions. The Lions are strong in every area, strong in the Gabba, really good in the forward half, and their midfield's been humming as of late. Lachie Neale's in some superb form. Andrews down back's been great. I don't know if this will be a bloodbath. Maybe it's over 100-point loss. I don't know. The Eagles seem to play a good patch of footy and then they play awful. So this could be over 100 points, but I'll just go the Lions to pick it up by, it should be over a 10-goal win. So I'll go Lions by 67 points. Next game here, we've got the Giants taking on the Hawks at Giants Stadium. The good old Hawkers. Now, as I always say, the Hawks, you don't want to tip them too much because they'll just break your hearts. They're a very young and inexperienced team, but you don't want to get carried away when they're in bout form and waltz your way and just say, oh, the Giants are an easy win, because I think they can win this game. It's hard to say that, but they just always catch you off guard with tipping. But I have to put out the point that the Hawks interstate this year have been really poor. I don't think they've won a game outside of Victoria this year. They've been poor everywhere they go, and it's a hard place to knock off the Giants at Giants Stadium. It's a bit of a fortress this year. The games that the Giants have lost at the Giants Stadium have been close losses and have been respectable performances. But the Giants are really up and about now. They've won the last 3 games in a row. They're really starting to improve the contested game and the turnover game. Important areas for finals footy brands. So I feel like the Giants, bit of a smoky for the final spot if they get a big win here against the Hawks, which I think personally they can. They're strong around the ground. They've been really good defensively. And I think their role players like the Giants have been so underappreciated. You know, Connor Ardern and Callum Brown. A few of those players have just been so strong. But yeah, the Hawks, they just were terrible defensively from what I saw, or from the highlights last week against the Blues. Didn't watch the game. But yeah, the Giants, they're strong at home. I'll just back them in for a big win. I think the Giants can get a big one on the road here. Look what they did to Freo. They were really strong. So yeah, the Giants at home pick up a big win against the Hawkers. But it won't surprise me that Hawthorn somehow win this game or make it a close game. But we'll go the Giants to pick up a win, and they'll win by 31 points. Saturday night footy, we have the Saints taking on the D's at Marvel Stadium. Now, the D's are a bit vulnerable at the moment. Not in many areas. I still think their forward half turnover game and their ball movement, apart from going inside 50, and their defence and the contested game is still really strong. And when that game's in check, you usually have a lot of upside with your team. But an area that does hurt them is going inside 50, scoreboard pressure, and putting on enough points. But I guess with these two teams, it sort of plays weakness to weakness, because the Saints aren't very good in that regard as well. They're not a really good team that's able to put on enough points and put on scoreboard pressure and struggle to score a high amount of points. But this is just such a St Kilda thing if they win this game. I think last year they did this. They lost against Essendon, and then they beat, I think it was the Blues, where the Blues were clear favourites. And I won't be surprised if they can beat the D's here. It's just such a Saints thing. So I give them a chance. I think they can really, try and knock off the D's in their forward half game, because their defence can be still quite strong. But yeah, their midfield's just been really inconsistent. They've been terrible in the contested game throughout patches of games. This is where I think the D's will knock them off. So I feel like the D's should be too strong for the Saints here. But if the Saints, I still give them a glimmer of hope. I think they can win this game. I mean, it's not huge outsiders. They're $2.75. But if they really get there, I feel like they've actually been decent sometimes and moving the ball end to end. So I feel like, yeah, they're not a bad chance here, the Saints, but I just feel Melbourne should be too strong. They should bounce back. But the last 4 weeks, they haven't kicked over 8 goals or something. So they're a vulnerable side. I like the Saints for this one, but I'll just back in Melbourne. I don't think Clary's coming back, but I feel like they still should be too strong in the midfield. They've got to have a week where things click. So I feel like against the Saints, who are a bit vulnerable at the moment themselves, of course, can't really go in tipping them. We're at the D's to pick up a strong win at home. I'm going Melbourne by, I don't think this will be an absolute bloodbath, but we'll go Demons by, a bit of a comfortable margin. Melbourne by 24 points. Next Saturday night game here, we've got Port Adelaide taking on the Suns at Adelaide Oval. I really do feel for the Suns. Whenever we think they are going to be a genuine chance of finals, they just fall apart. But it's a Suns thing here to make this a game. I think they're a decent chance against Port Adelaide, but Port are way too strong at home. Their win was gutsy against the Bombers, and they're just winning ways so well at the moment. Port Adelaide, they're either getting dominant wins at home, or they're getting such strong wins where they're trailing at 3/4 time, and their methods to winning is, they're just such a versatile team on ways to win. They're just so strong across many areas of the ground. They're entertaining to watch. The ball movement is exciting. They got some big cannons back there with some great kicking skills from their back half. 𝐼𝐿𝐼's been strong. Midfield's been strong. So I think they should get a good win here against the Suns. But again, Gold Coast, it won't shock me that they turn this into a bit of a game. I feel like they've got to have a week where things click, but they're just out of form. Port should be too strong here. So we'll go Port Adelaide to pick up a strong win against the Suns. But yeah, I genuinely think Gold Coast can make this a bit of a close game, not a bloodbath. So we'll go Port Adelaide to win by around 3 odd goals. We'll go Port by 19 points. For the Sunday games now, we've got the Cats taking on North Melbourne at 𝐺𝐵HBA Stadium. North Melbourne, I felt last week against the Crows that first half, they were quite strong. They were keeping in the game against Adelaide. They were in the lead throughout parts of that first half, but again, it's just same old North Melbourne. Their senior list or senior category in their list not showing enough, where their younger crop is probably playing better. You know, Nick Larky's still been good. 𝐼𝐷𝐸 back in the team. You know, 𝐼𝐷𝐸 and Wardlaw, all those sort of types. It's just the same old North Melbourne. And yeah, their foot skills out of their back half's quite poor. They're just the basics they really do struggle at. And the defence, they always can leak goals. And I think the Cats at home, you know, it's a pretty easy tip. I can't see North Melbourne win this game. Maybe they make it a close game up to half time. But yeah, the Cats themselves have been a little bit shaky, I think, at the back and defending ball movement. But yeah, I think the Cats at 𝐺𝐵HBA Stadium at home, they should get a good win here and improve their percentage and move into the 8th potentially at the end of the round. So we'll go the Cats to pick up a good win at home. Geelong by 34 points. Next Sunday game, we've got the Dons hosting the Adelaide Crows at Marvel Stadium. Now, I think this game could be a bit of a cheeky game of the year contender. I'm just going to say right off the bat, because I feel like these two teams at this venue, whenever I think about this game in this venue, it's always close. I think the Dons beat the Adelaide Crows here by like 4 odd points last year. They just always produce good footy at this venue with these two teams. So, yeah, I just feel like this one will be close, because both these teams are neck and neck, I think, on the ladder, and with sort of how they are playing and just their scenarios. You've got the Crows, very strong at home, but they can be a little bit shaky away. And then the Dons, they've been quite good against good quality sides when they've been in areas where they can win, but they just let it slip. So I think both teams will have fires in the belly, especially the Dons coming off that loss. They really could have won against Port Adelaide, so I think they'll be fired up to take on the Crows with a bit of a soft kill win. So yeah, usually from that, where a team's had a close loss and a team's had an easy win, I feel like because of that logic, the Dons should win this game comfortably. But I just can't go past Adelaide too much, because what they did against the Pies away at the G was so impressive. You know, their pressure and their ball movement can be exciting, and I think the Dons, I saw somewhere, they're one of the worst teams in the comp for defending ball movement, so it's sort of playing an Adelaide strength into a Dons weakness. So I feel like the Crows are a genuine chance here, but Essendon are pretty strong at home. They play their best footy at Marvel Stadium. But yeah, they've had a few shaky games at that venue this year. They almost lost to North Melbourne, but against good sides, they usually do turn it up. They pressure around the ball. I just think their balance, you know, with their role players are playing so well. You know, they like to control the game, the uncontested style. And their midfield's been, yeah, I think quite decent as well. And going forward, they always are dangerous, I think. They have players that can put on points. So, yeah, I do like the Dons here, but I'm going to go to the Crows. I think they can pick up the upset here. It should be probably a 60-40 game in favour of the Dons, given that Adelaide, you can't trust them too much interstate, but I feel like if there is a season-defining win that both teams need, it's this one here. But I just like the Crows. I like their ball movement. I like their pressure. From what I saw against the Pies at the G, I give them confidence here to pick up this game. And this one will be going either way. I think this will be under a kick. We'll go the Crows to pick up a beauty here by 3 points. And for the final game here, we've got the Dockers taking on the Blues at Optus Stadium. Now, again, Freo are just the definition of inconsistent this year. Whenever I back them in, whenever I think they can get a win, they just fail me, and then they just lose. But yeah, at home against the Blues, they smacked them at this venue against the Blues last year. But they've just been really inconsistent. And yeah, as for the Blues, they're up and about a little bit more, so I feel like you've got to give them a bit of a chance in this game. They're playing with a little bit more dare. We're starting to see a bit more dominance in their midfield. Cripps is starting to turn up now. You know, 𝐼𝐿𝐴 and 𝐼𝐻𝐾𝐿, 𝐼𝐿𝐴 had a big game last week. Cherra's been probably their best player, honestly, this year. He's been so underrated with scoring involvements and racking up the footy. So yeah, it's a bit of sort of a hard one to tip, because Freo been inconsistent. The Blues are in good form, but I just think at Optus Stadium, they've been pretty strong. Freo, I think they've won the last few games there. I think the last time they lost was against the Tigers at Optus, and then they got that strong win against the Dons. So yeah, this is a ground where they love to really take the game on with their ball movement. So I think the Dockers pick up this win. But yeah, a bit of a 50-50 one, to be honest, because I do like the Blues. Good form, but I'll just back them for at home. They should pick up this win and keep their finals hopes alive. So go the Dockers to pick up this win. I think this one will be close. We'll go Freo by 10 points. So overall now, my tips for round 17 of the 2023 AFL season. Again, apologies for not getting out the round review from last week. Just got home, honestly, a few hours ago, so straight into recording this video and getting this video out. But yeah, it was a good time away up at the coast, but yeah, keen to see how the tips do go, and yeah, keen for another round of footy upcoming, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you went on to enjoy. That'd be heavily appreciated, and until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.